Edustart REACH 50,000 is a project that is aimed at reaching 50,000 young people, and the idea is to cultivate high-growth entrepreneurs. Exploring the situation of our nation, Nigeria, it's obvious that our nation needs help. Considering the fraction of the demography where we have a lot of young people, those between the ages of 0 and 24 are 62% of the population, and we don't know what the future will look like for them if nothing is done. So our contribution is to employ this platform of Edustart using this project to reach 50,000 persons. So if we can reach 50,000 persons, help them to think like entrepreneurs, support them also to exercise their ability to be entrepreneurs, enable them to scale. And if they can employ 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 persons and they can create value and wealth, and maybe we have about 10% of them go ahead to start multi-billion-dollar businesses, then we have some future for our nation. That's some value that we hope to contribute and to add. Unfortunately, it's not easy to teach entrepreneurship in the classroom. Teaching economics or biology, there's way you teach those kind of courses, but entrepreneurship is way different. Entrepreneurship is life, it's a mindset, it's a way of thinking. And how you teach it is way different from how you teach other courses or subjects. So I don't really consider entrepreneurship as a subject per se. And so how do I teach entrepreneurship? Besides teaching it, in terms of offering what the basics are, my approach is to help trigger the intention of the students, because my goal is to raise the entrepreneurial intention of the student and make him want it. And so I use the approach of inspiration to inspire the students to consider entrepreneurship as an option. I also get them involved in the art of entrepreneurship by giving them projects that help to force them to engage in their entrepreneurial capabilities. So any kind of activity that will make them want to work with other people, or any kind of activity that will make them get out of their shells, or possibly force them to go meet people to ask them to buy things from them. So there's some projects or exercises that I can give them to maybe put resources together, develop a product, or buy and sell something. So many of them will get to find out that, hey, I don't like facing the crowd, or possibly I found out that when I was talking to someone, I was kind of afraid, and so I had to try my best to get out of my shell to face the fear of rejection or the fear of failure. So these are the things that they discover and they find out when they find themselves in such kind of projects and exercises. I also use movies to inspire them. There are a number of inspiring entrepreneurs in Nigeria and Africa and all over the world that have done remarkable things. A number of them that they also know. So I use those also to inspire them. Like, these guys can do this, then you also can do it. While I expose them to these kinds of exercises, I also work with them to provide the platform for them to access a number of things. So being privileged to be the creator of Edustart Startup Lab, it also helps me also to work with them to help them take their ideas from concepts to product to market. And I have quite a number of friends and partners that are really quite remarkable who have been supporting in mentoring a number of them. I also have a team of persons that work at Edustart Startup Lab who help to support and make this process kind of really fluid. So these are some of the things that I do that help us to cultivate high-growth entrepreneurs. And interestingly, I discovered this in 2016. One of the investors networks reached out to me in 2016, and this is how I got to know. I didn't know except I received that call where they told me that they discovered that 50% of companies they invest in are founded by graduates of Covenant University. They themselves, they didn't know, but they were just kind of like trying to trace, just to improve on their outcomes. Where exactly are the persons that were investing, which school did they actually finish from? The idea is to see how they could reinforce their operations, and they figured out that 50% of them, they invest in about 30 companies, about 15 of them are founded by graduates of Covenant University. So these is a good feedback for us. It encourages us to continue things that we do. So this particular project, and which also includes this book, Edustart REACH, Becoming a High-Growth Entrepreneur, actually it's inspired me to say that if with the few persons that we've been able to impact through our entrepreneurship program, if we can scale that process and put this knowledge in a book format and also provide supporting systems, and scale this knowledge to help others in other institutions, and maybe those who will not be able to get to an institution. Then we can scale the number of entrepreneurs that we can ship out, whether from higher education institutions or from high schools, or maybe those who don't get the opportunity to get to the higher education institutions. Because the goal is that things can be a lot better if we have entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are dreamers. They make things happen. They change the world. True entrepreneurs mostly, they make things happen. They change the world, take initiatives, and they're bold to do things. And they create value and they create opportunities. And Nigeria is lacking plenty of opportunities. Usually we have lots of persons who travel abroad to other country or to find means to escape this nation is because of the lack of opportunities here. And that's because the agent who is responsible for creating opportunities is in short supply. And we need to find mechanical means or scientific means by which we can create this guy in a mass and in a way that is sustainable, so that we can have opportunities being created and we can have others also benefit from that process. I'm actually using movies to teach. Quite interesting movies. I'm very selective about movies. I don't watch any kind of movie. So if I'm watching a movie, there must be something inspiring about it, particularly something close to entrepreneurship. And I use movies to teach my students a lot. And I have various characters. In fact, my students got to know about this, that they literally seduced me to watch the series Money Heist. I don't watch series, but I had to watch Money Heist. My students made me watch it. The remarkable stuff. Maybe you should watch it if you've not watched it. Just see about the stealing aspect and just see what's interesting about it that you can learn about entrepreneurship. One of my favorite characters and movies is a 3D animated movie, Kung Fu Panda. I love that movie. I love that movie because it helps me teach my students how to find themselves. It gives like a story around how you can find yourself and learn really fast. And my favorite character there is Po. That's Panda himself, Kung Fu Panda, an amazing guy. Funny but really cool guy. I love the character. The character is a very fast learner. Very fast learner. He figures things out really quickly. And what it took others like years to learn, he learned in weeks. And the things that he didn't get the chance to be taught, somehow he figured out by himself. That's the kind of person I want my students to be. People who learn really fast and they're able to figure things out and make things happen quickly and have big wins. I love the character. So Edustart REACH, Becoming a High-Growth Entrepreneur, is a book that I put together based on the lessons I've learned as an entrepreneur and also as a teacher of entrepreneurship. I've been teaching entrepreneurship at university for over 10 years now. And from the lessons I've learned from the process, the mentorship that I've given to a number of my students who are now graduates, and a number of them have gone on to start great companies. Lessons from that have brought those things together, and I've put this book together to help a number of people beyond just government university. And the idea is this: is there any platform or a material or resource that someone can pick up to help him or her to think like an entrepreneur? And so I put the book in various chapters and segments to enable students, young people who really have the dream of either becoming a high-growth entrepreneur or high-growth talent, because I consider that a high-growth talent is someone who thinks like an entrepreneur, whether he or she is an employee somewhere. So the book basically is to enable the readers and those who will invest the time to study it to become high-growth entrepreneurs. Becoming a high-growth entrepreneur is a process. It takes time. It takes commitment. And so the book is broken into about 3 segments. I made up about 10 chapters. And so the first segment looks at the making of the entrepreneur. And for instance, the first chapter focuses on finding yourself. The best of entrepreneurs are the ones that build ventures and get themselves involved in things that align with their talents, with their skills, with their passions, with their capabilities, and with their personalities. And so a true entrepreneur, if he or she will be successful, first of all needs to figure out, who exactly am I? What are my passions, potentials, capacities, talents, skills? What am I really, really good at? And what's my personality, I must say? For instance, let me pick the chancellor of this university. I'm trying to imagine if I can see him a footballer. I don't see how that fits. What he's doing now just aligns with his personality. Think of someone like Jay-Z. Jay-Z is an amazing entrepreneur. And think of what makes him successful as an entrepreneur. It just aligns and fits with his capabilities and talents. Look at someone like Bill Gates. He's using his wealth right now to help the world to solve major problems with what he's doing. But he started first of all by building an empire around his personality, around his passion, around his skills, his talents, and what he's really able to do. And that's because we are mostly comfortable and confident doing the things that fit who we are. So if you're going to start something that does not align with who you are, there's tendency for you not to have the adequate confidence and capacity to actually make it happen. And so the first thing you want to do in becoming an entrepreneur is to really find out who exactly are you, what are your capabilities. And there is a tool in that chapter that helps you find yourself. We call it the SMART PC. It's an acronym where S signifies self-discovery, M represents vision, A represents assignment, R represents resource, T represents time, P purpose, and C canvas. So it's called the SMART PC. As you study it and you apply the things that are there, that will also be used to help you find out exactly who you are and how you can put yourself together and build an empire around your personality. The second chapter explores the mindset of the entrepreneur. How does the entrepreneur think? The true entrepreneur thinks at the highest level. So if you think of how a typical employee thinks, a typical employee thinks of survival, thinks of security, and possibly thinks of somebody is there to tell me what to do, or possibly make available something to enable me to do what I want to do. But the entrepreneur is thinking from scratch. He thinks at the strategic viewpoint. He thinks more broadly. So if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the peak dimension of it, where we don't have lots of people, talks about self-actualization. True entrepreneurs focus a lot on self-actualization. They want to optimize their fullest self. So there's a way they think. While others are seeing problems, he's looking at the same thing and he's seeing it as an opportunity. So for him, a crisis is a terrible thing to waste. And so that chapter focuses more on how exactly does the entrepreneur think. And the idea is to see how, permit me to use the word, to seduce the students, to seduce the reader to think in a particular way or pattern. And that's the idea of that chapter. The third chapter looks at one vital aspect which I really appreciate, and that's what entrepreneurship is not. So there are many things that people call entrepreneurship. People call self-employment entrepreneurship or skill acquisition entrepreneurship. In fact, one of the things that some universities teach as entrepreneurship is skill acquisition. Skill acquisition is not entrepreneurship. That you have your complimentary card printed and you put C where it does not make an entrepreneur. Or possibly you have a good degree or you have an office set, you put an address and all that. That doesn't make an entrepreneur. So there are quite a number of things that we can't call entrepreneurship. That you have massive social media followings doesn't make an entrepreneur. There's one entrepreneur is. So that chapter we kind of like demystified what entrepreneurship really is and what it's not, so that we can get clear what exactly it is, so you know exactly who you're trying to become. And another chapter in that segment looks at the entrepreneur reflexes. What are the things that trigger the entrepreneur? What are his reflexes? What motivates him? What drives him? What's the why of everything he or she does? So that's what we look at in that particular chapter. Now, the second segment of the book looks at permit me to use the word, job description of the entrepreneur. What exactly the entrepreneur does as a way of life. And the first one is he creates value. And value is anything people really want and they're willing to pay for. Maybe they badly want it. It could be a form of a product or a service. It's an offering, basically, and people value it, and so they give their resources and their time or their attention for it. And that's what the entrepreneur does. He creates value. So he builds an empire around the value he or she creates, and he tries to do that sustainably. The other thing that the entrepreneur does is he creates opportunity. If what he's building, if the value is actually offering is impacting the lives of people and people are really making demands for it, and there is demand, it will lead to increase in opportunities, and that drives him to create opportunities. For instance, he should get to a point where he can't make the work happen alone. He has to hire someone. In that process, he's creating job opportunities for other people. That's creating employment opportunities. In the process, he gets to a point where there are certain things that he can't do, not because he can't do them, but because he's seeing the bigger picture, and so he sees the need to outsource certain things to other people to do, in form of contracts or whatever form or format he or she might want to present that. And this could be called business opportunities. He also creates market opportunities in the process, and so that's what the entrepreneur does. That's part of his job description. The third thing that the entrepreneur does is that he creates wealth for himself, for herself, and for other people. And so this is what we call the job description of the entrepreneur. He creates value, he creates wealth, he creates opportunities, whether he or she. And the idea is that this is what he or she does, basically. Now, the third segment of the book focuses on how the entrepreneur can scale what he or she does. And the first thing I try to look at in that segment is leadership and team building. In that particular chapter, I made it clear that to scale, you need people. It's people that you need to scale. You need the right people to scale. People have the time, people have the resources, people have the ideas, people have the networks, people have the concepts that you need to scale the organization. So if you can hire smart people and you increase your team by an additional person, you yourself have just 24 hours in a day. Having one more person join you has increased the time that your organization needs to 48 hours a day. If you add one more person, you have increased it to 72 hours in a day. And your business needs time to grow. That's why people have the time. There are things you can't think about that people can think about. So with that, having to bring in the right set of persons into your organization will also help to increase the volume of ideas and concepts and innovation capabilities of your organization. So to scale, you need people. People have the things that you need to move forward. Not everything is money. Even to get money is just the people. People have it. The people have the networks that can give you access to the money and resources that you need. Another section in that particular segment is innovate. I call it innovator die. It's basically innovation. Innovation will help to address a number of things. Innovation is what we use to compete in this age right now. It's either you innovate or you die. And so that chapter expresses what your entrepreneurs do and what the readers can begin to do in terms of how exactly do you innovate. You are entering a new market. How do you come in as a David when there's already a Goliath in that industry? Those who have been in the industry for years before you even thought of the concept. How do you come in? So innovation is just a way to overcome that. In concluding the book, I kind of expressed what people need to do in taking action. So it's not enough for you to be inspired and to know exactly what to do and to maybe get involved in some exercises, but now it's time to just go do it. So this is just should I say, a summary of what is in the book and my intention for it. And I hope that the readers will read and take some action. But beyond reading the book, we want to build a relationship with the readers. And that's why we set up the Edustart online community so that we can have an interaction and also provide the help and support needed to help these entrepreneurs pursue their dreams and realize them. Because it's not that people don't dream, but the challenge is that people don't really have the capacity to realize their dreams. And for those who have the capacities, maybe they don't have the necessary support to make it happen. And so what we want to do is to work with a sustaining process that will help us achieve and realize that. And that's the essence of this project. You can pre-order the book now. The book is going to be out at the end of this month. Details will be made available publicly. So you can pre-order the book now. I'm encouraging you to pre-order the book right now. Not just for yourself, even for other persons. And I'll tell you the reason why I'm asking you to do that. Part of what the income that will come from the sales of this book is going to be used to support a lot of people. And the idea is to see how we can cultivate entrepreneurs. The income coming from this book is going to the Edustart Global Foundation, whose mission is to cultivate hybrid entrepreneurs and hybrid talents. And so this book is one of the products that will be used to raise funds for the operation that Edustart Global Foundation will be embarking upon. So I encourage you to get the book, not just for yourself, but for other persons who will need it. So we are not only trying to cultivate entrepreneurs, but at the same time, we're also trying to accomplish the mission that Edustart is involved in. So for every copy you buy, you're actually helping to cultivate entrepreneurs. I just needed to make that clear so that you can understand that the impact you're making for buying a copy is not small, but it's really huge and massive. And so you can pre-order this book. You can go to bit.ly. The link is going to be made available on the screen. bit.ly/order Edustart. You can pick that, pick the copy there. You find options there. You can pick the copy there. For those of you who don't stay within reach, arrangements will be made for deliveries to where you are. Some of you might want to order for other persons and you want us to deliver them. You make all that clear to us, order and make it available to them. We hope to work with a number of schools as well who are interested in cultivating entrepreneurs, high schools and higher education institutions who are interested in having their students to begin to think like entrepreneurs. I think that the glory of every institution is what their students end up becoming. I think the real dignity and honor of a teacher is the glory of the students. That should be the excitement of a true teacher there. And so I hope that high schools and high education institutions can consider having this book as a manual. At Covenant, that's the direction in which we're going. We've achieved a number of things, but now we are looking at scaling what we are doing because we believe that the mission of the institution is to raise a new generation of leaders, and entrepreneurship is very key for us in this. So you can go to bit.ly/order Edustart to find more about the book there, and you can order it directly there. But like I said, it's not just ordering the book. We want to have a relationship with everyone who buys the book, everyone who reads the book. Because we don't just want to have you just have the knowledge, we want you to have the necessary support to realize your dream. And that's why we set up the Edustart online community, which you can access by going to edustart.global. The link is also available on the screen. And you can go there and log in and join the community where we expect you to exercise the art of entrepreneurship and also have mentors there provide mentorship support and also give you access to certain free online courses and connections with certain experts that can help you also realize your dream. For buying this book, you're actually funding Edustart Global Foundation. And if you are pre-ordering, you are actually making a huge impact. And so I encourage you to pre-order the book. Now, if you pre-order the book, I'll be giving you a free copy of one of my books called Making Life Count. And just as the name is, I try to express what it takes to make your life count. I wrote that book in 2013, and I hope that's going to be helpful to you and it will also bless you. Also, you'll be joining the Edustart Inside Club and also have access to certain features on the Edustart online community that will give you more access, particularly around having access to some of our industry partners that can help to scale the number of things that you're doing. That's one of the ways that I would say thank you for creating the book and for being part of the dream of helping to cultivate high-quality entrepreneurs and talents to help build our nation Nigeria from the ground up.